if a product's only going to last 2 or 3 years without you disrupting yourself, which is a major thing we're teaching around, you need to look at your competitors, monitor your niche, and understand ahead of time and plan for it. How can someone disrupt me? Whether it's more variations, more styles, more colors, more bundles, more value, then you need to come in and do that to yourself. You need to say, I'm going to launch V2 of this product, V3 of this product. I'm going to add 2 variations. I'm going to add a bundle. I'm going to add a pack. That time that you would normally have to do that is being spent instead on just trying to stay above water.
Welcome to the Ecom Breakthrough Podcast. Are you ready to unlock the full potential and growth in your business? You've already crossed 7 figures in sales, but the challenge is knowing how to take your business to the next level.
Welcome to the Ecom Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Hadley, where I interview the top business leaders in e-commerce. Past guests include Kevin King, Aaron Cordovez, and Michael E. Gerber, author of The E-Myth. Today, I'm speaking with the one and only Brandon Young, the man behind Seller Systems, an 8-figure Amazon seller and award-winning coach, and also the owner of Data Dive. So we're excited to be diving down into lots of rabbit holes about how to scale your brand on Amazon today. This episode is brought to you by Ecom Breakthrough, where I specialize in investing in and scaling 7-figure e-commerce brands to 8 figures and beyond. If you're an ambitious e-commerce entrepreneur looking for a coach or a consultant who can help take your business to the next level, I bring hands-on experience, strategic insights, and the resources needed to fuel your growth. So if you or someone you know is ready to scale or looking for that coach or consultant, reach out to me directly at josh@ecombreakthrough.com. That's ecom with 2 M's, and let's turn your dreams into reality. Today, I'm excited to introduce you all to Brandon Young. Brandon is also the co-founder of the fastest growing AI-powered Amazon research and marketing software, Data Dive. His strengths lie in his in-depth knowledge of Amazon's ranking algorithm and his ability to create data-based processes, which improve the success rates and profitability of FBA businesses. He also founded Seller Systems, a college-level course and mastermind community with educational content for Amazon sellers, and he's also an 8-figure brand owner. So Brandon knows what he's talking about. We're excited to have him on the show. Welcome, Brandon.
Great to be here, man. Good to see you.
Brandon, always good to see you. You're a busy man, so I'm glad we were able to carve out some time to have you on the show today. So, Brandon, with everything going on, I want to just jump straight into the meat and potatoes of today's conversation. Amazon is never harder than it ever has been before right now, right? We've seen a lot of margin compression happening in 2024. And it just wasn't like the Amazon of 2015 and 2016 that you and I knew and launched into is not the Amazon world that we're living in today. So to our listeners that are 7-figure brand owners, like, what is your message to them today, Brandon? Like, is it still viable to grow on Amazon? And if so, what are the growth lever strategies that you're employing even into your own brand to thrive and survive over the next 5 to 10 years on Amazon?
Yeah, I think the first message is that it's okay that things are not as easy or not going as well as you had hoped, or, that things are down a little bit. I mean, a common story that I'm hearing from all the large sellers is that we are down year over year, or that, we kind of stayed flat and maybe margins are down. We saw the writing on the wall and we made a massive investment into our own team to try to level them up. And one of the issues that we had when we were scaling is we hired a lot of juniors straight out of school for the purpose of trying to train them up. And what ended up happening is, and my wife, Jennifer, she runs the brand's business for the most part. But what ended up happening was we would have a really flat org chart. And so we have all of these juniors that can do the roles, but only to a certain extent. And then no one was really capable of stepping up into a senior leadership role or that we could elevate. And so when you end up with this really flat org chart, you end up in a position where you can't grow beyond, you hit a wall, right? You can't grow beyond a certain point. And so your org chart has to start adding layers at a certain point in order for you to be able to go from, let's say, 15 or 20 million to 50 million. And I think that the natural walls people hit at 3 million are because it's themselves. It's a key man issue. It's, maybe a VA or one assistant. And then to go to 10 million, you end up with, 3 or 4 people that can help you do certain tasks. Maybe you've outsourced a thing or two, PPC or whatever it is. If you're doing your own PPC, it depends how many SKUs you have. So maybe you have a few people doing that. And then to go to 20 million or 25 million, you've got 12, 15, maybe, try and get into 20 employees. And it starts to really get difficult to manage if everyone's reporting to you. You can only have so many direct reports. If all day you're sitting in meetings and people are telling you what they're doing, you're not able to work on the business and scale it, right? And so things start to, the magic that got you to 20 is not going to get you to 50 anymore. And so the levers that we started to pull were to figure out how to turn over the team and hire more seniors and start to build out the org down so that we could scale some of these processes. The additional things that we needed to do is to elevate the content. That, like you said, you could take anything in 2015 off of Alibaba, put it in a white box and sell it on Amazon, and it would sell. You could take a picture with your cell phone or with a random camera and put it online, and it would be enough. And now that's not the case anymore. You have to have the best content. You have to have custom designs. You have to understand how to bundle. You have to understand what the customer really wants from a features and component standpoint, from a design standpoint. And you have to deliver a really good product that can keep the review rating high. You have to have something that is going to get great reviews over time, because the amount of effort needed to develop and launch it is greater than it's ever been.
Yeah. I think it's requiring a more sophisticated kind of entrepreneur, one that's willing to create more systems and processes. And I think like the lazy approach to Amazon has come and gone, right? The Me Too products, like that ship has sailed a long time ago.
Well, you've known me for many years, and I've always told people this is not a passive income business. This is not a get rich quick do it on the side business. Now you can start it that way. We've had hundreds of people in the inner circle start from scratch or with one product or from, and build up a multi-million-dollar business and become millionaires. But they started while they were still working a full-time job, right? And you can start learning 10 hours at a time, 10 hours per week. If you can dedicate a few nights a week to learning content to launch that first product. But eventually you're going to need to step into this and run it because it becomes its own beast. And, we always tell people that the time to step away from your job is when it's costing you money to go to work, right? But that could be a year from now. It could be 2 years from now. But you better give up Netflix. You better give up your nights and weekends, and you better be working full time in this Amazon business until that time comes. And a lot of people aren't willing to put in that work, man. Like it's not a passive, it's not a side gig, it's not a side hustle. It is you're building a real brand.
Yeah. And Brandon, you tell me from your experience if you think this statement is true, but there's been a number of people that I've come across that do get stuck in that 1 to 5 million range, somewhere between there, where they just kind of like stall out. And the business has become very complicated. They only have maybe an assistant or two. And then they just start to experience year over year declines in revenue. And it starts to actually like progressively spiral down from 5 million, you're down to 4 million, you're down to 3 million. And they're like, I don't know what's going wrong here. Tell me, like, do you see that happening to a lot of these brand owners? And why do you feel like we're starting to see some of that happening right now?
Well, it's just where they're allocating their time. And so in the beginning, majority of your time is product development and product launch. And then, as you have too many products that you have to manage, the majority of your time gets spent over on managing those existing products. and products have a life cycle. So if you're not, and a lot of people don't see it this way, but if a product's only going to last 2 or 3 years without you disrupting yourself, which is a major thing we're teaching around, you need to look at your competitors, monitor your niche, and understand ahead of time and plan for it. How can someone disrupt me? Whether it's more variations, more styles, more colors, more bundles, more value, then you need to come in and do that to yourself. You need to say, I'm going to launch V2 of this product, V3 of this product. I'm going to add 2 variations. I'm going to add a bundle. I'm going to add a pack. That time that you would normally have to do that is being spent instead on just trying to stay above water. And so you need to understand like where you're spending your time and doing and what's really the lever that's going to continue to grow the business. And you have to go faster the bigger you get, which means you need even more time than you were originally allocating to product development. So if you were launching 10 products, let's be realistic. The average person was launching 3 products a year, right? And if you're only launching 3 products a year, and then you get to year 2 or 3 and you're at 3 million and you're like, this is going great, and then you've only got 1 product in the pipeline, what's going to happen to your business? When of your 10 successful products, you've got to drop 2, and you've only got 1 in the pipeline. That's where it's simple. It's really, really simple. Where's your current revenue coming from? It's existing products and new products. If you're not supplementing what you're losing from your existing products and exceeding that, then your business is going to decline. But how do you do that when most of your time is busy? Your time as the expert in your business and the one that cares most about it is busy maintaining where you're at. You're just treading water, right? So you're going to decline naturally. So how do you solve that? You have to solve it by building an org. You have to solve it by hiring and training and getting the right people, outsourcing, and then going back to the fundamentals of product development, product launch, and launching more products than you're losing.
Yeah. I think it's as simple as that. Like you just boiled it down to like very simply on Amazon, the biggest growth lever is launching new SKUs, period.
Yeah.
Like it is what it is. And to your point, Brandon, I think this is like the leading measures versus lagging measures, right? Analogy where your leading measure on a weekly basis to know whether I'm going to be successful 10 months from now, 18 months from now, 24 months from now, is how many new product opportunities did you find today? And how many new quotes did you get today? How many new product POs did you initiate today? Those are the leading indicators of the business that, yeah, they're not like, hey, I found a new product. Yeah, it's not driving any revenue or profit in the business now. We understand that. But that's a leading indicator that you will have success in the future. So many people, they look at like, hey, I have a $5 million business. Those are lagging metrics, right? Your profit and your revenue today is a summation of the work that you did 12 months ago. So like when you look at your P&L, it's not like, oh, I can change this tonight really quick. Like, okay, yes, you could reduce your tacos. Yes, you could cut some things, but like your COGS are basically already baked in for the next 6 to 12 months. Your FBA fees are already baked in for the next 6 to 12 months. So it's like you got to manage by those leading indicators.
100%. So exactly to that point, think about it this way. Like we talk about the taxonomy of value. We spent a lot of time in calls with coaches together and in the inner circle and whatnot, and with Ojamar and coaches. But think about it, if you're thinking about what lever you're pulling and what it's worth, you always have to put a value to your time and a value to the lever you're pulling. Now, what the typical person will do is say, I've got these 10 products, my margin is being compressed, my conversion rate has gone slightly down. Let me work on this conversion rate. So they will spend 20 hours of their 40 hours a week doing that for the next 3 months. Now, those 3 or 4 SKUs that they end up working on, and let's say they take that conversion rate from 13% to 15%. The impact, the lagging outcome of that is to the business might only be worth $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year. If they had spent the same amount of time on product research and development and found 5 potential products, they would have added $1 million to the business, right? So it's a matter of what is the lever worth versus the time you're putting in it, the ROI on your time. And so, yeah, finding, launching, and designing new products is always going to be the most valuable lever. With the least amount of effort, you add the most to your business.
Yeah. So Brandon, I think this is a great segue into the next topic, which is, all right, so what are the different levers I should be focused on pulling within my business? And you and I have talked about this a lot. Let's say you've got a brand owner on Amazon, they're doing $5 million. They want to scale to 8 figures and beyond. What are the levers that they do need to be pulling in the business? And I would love your kind of experience. Talk to us about, here are the different levers that we've played with in our business, and these are the results that we got. And the reason why I think both you and I can confidently come back and be like, it all comes back to product development, is because we have each pulled different levers, and it's like, ooh, the juice ain't worth the squeeze over here. But we're always trying something new. So I would love for you to maybe like share with the audience, like, what are those different levers that you've attempted to pull? Which ones seem to be fruitful versus not?
Yeah, I mean, we've tried a bunch. So, we did Fair. So Fair with an E.com is small mom and pop shops making small orders. Now, you think about what's required to go on to Fair is like, it's a whole new supply chain. And that seems to be the common issue with a lot of the different marketplaces you can go to, is that you have to develop an entire new system. And there's costs associated with that you need to factor in. But Fair would be like a kiosk in a mall that wants to order our toys, and they're like, they want 3 of this one, 5 of that one, and 7 of another one, and 2 of another one, right? And they place a $500 order or a $400 order, right? And it's like, well, what do we have to do to service that when we're used to sending in 500 units or 1,500 units directly into FBA? Well, we need a 3PL. We need a 3PL that's willing to break down in cases, that is willing to go and pick and pull a few units from each of those open cases, and then to fulfill that order for us. And there's a large fulfillment cost for that, right? Like, there's the time and the fulfillment for that. So what's our margin on that when we're selling that wholesale now to somebody who still wants to be able to compete at the end price that we have to give Amazon in a competitive marketplace where we have to compete on price, and we're already in a tight margin business in toys, right? So we pulled that lever. We did, a few $100,000 in sales over the course of a year. We were already doing 12, 15 million at the time. Maybe, when we decided to pull that lever, and we're like, what are we even doing wasting this time? We took one entire employee, put them full time into this market. We had to take the time of our logistics team to deal with inventory specifically for this. So the amount of resources required to pull the lever versus what the end result was, we ended up losing money on it at the end of the day. You can't just look at it in a vacuum and say, hey, we made X margin on these sales. And it was like, by the time we looked at it, we didn't make 60 or 70,000. We had actually lost a ton of money because we took the time of the team that we had to pay that could have been working on something much more fruitful. So that's one. Another one is like Walmart. We pull Walmart's lever. We hired a channel manager, and to do Walmart correctly, I think that you need to go all in on Walmart to an extent that you need an entire new team. You need a logistics team. You need a marketing team, like someone managing the listings. You need that entire management channel. And then to understand, like, we've got 800 or so SKUs. Which 100 SKUs or 50 SKUs are we going to start with, and then really start to dive into? And so we're doing $1 million on Walmart, but is it the 20 or more that we're doing on Amazon? And what's that worth to us? Can we scale that to 4 or 5 million? I think so. So that's another one that could potentially be there. But can I scale Amazon to 50 million, right? Versus scaling Walmart to 4 or 5 million. is the question, right? Because if you're doing 5 million on Amazon, what's Walmart worth to you? At max, it's probably worth 1.5, right? If it's 20% at most of what you're doing on Amazon. So like, how do you justify some of these channels? And then I see like Shopify, Instagram, content. One I really am interested in that we haven't invested in is TikTok, but that's another thing that you've tackled, that you're a lever that you're pulling that I think could be really great. But then we have the whole uncertainty around, is it going to be a channel in 6 months? Yeah. Right. And so we've been burned with the fairs. We did Wish very early on. So we did Wish, we did Fair, we've done Walmart. And at the end of the day, for us, it's always just been more Amazon.com, to the point where we didn't even do Amazon EU. And what's interesting, you and I were just at Market Masters with Kevin King, which is a great event, getting people around hot seats and with experts and really helping people figure out what, how to help your business go to the next level. Really, really recommend something like that. But one of the sellers that I was on the hot seat, that I was like a panel for, is got a product. I don't want to share too much, but has a product in the EU that's a $10 million brand in total, doing 9 million in the EU across all the marketplaces in EU, and only doing 1 million in the US, struggling in the US, but owns 50% of the market in the EU. And the question is their content that much better? Like in the EU, like why are they succeeding in the EU? Is it an SEO thing? No, it actually turned out just because the competition is so much less that you can earn more of the market, even though the market is like an eighth the size. But if you own so much more of it, they own a few percentage points of the market here in the US, and they own 50% of the market in the EU. So even though the market is so much bigger in the US, it's so much harder to gain a market share. Your cost per click is so much higher. Your margin is so much smaller because of that. To maintain your keyword ranks, you have to be spending more on ads, and it costs you more to do that here. So you can't make the profit that you can over there. So it's easier to rank. It's easier to pull that lever. It's cheaper to pull that lever and to maintain those ranks. And so you can own more of the market. And I never thought of it that way. It was such an eye opener for me, which is like, I just translated it 1-to-1. I just thought to myself, well, the market is a 10th the size or a 5th the size or whatever it was, that if I go over there versus launching a new product. So it opened my eyes to an extent to where it's like, you know what, it doesn't translate as 1-to-1. I can own more of the market because there's less competition, and it'll be cheaper to own more of that market versus here. So my margin will be better. Yeah, maybe EU is a marketplace we should actually launch into versus just launching more products into .com, especially since we've launched so many and developed so many products. It'll be easy for us to cherry pick the best of the best. Yeah,
I love that. And I love kind of like the tangible case studies of like, these are things that we've actually like tested, we've implemented them. This is what we've seen working or not. I think one thing that, was the underlying thread here between it all was like the supply chain aspect, right? I think being able to scale out on different marketplaces is relatively easier because like the supply chain will stay figuratively the same, right? And especially like the reason why people are saying they're having success on TikTok Shop and even on Shopify right now is because they're able to leverage their exact same supply chain without having to move a needle, right? Because you've got Amazon MCF, multi-channel fulfillment, which allows you, and they just came out with 20% discounted rates for a period of time, that this is the perfect time to go explore a TikTok Shop or a Shopify or a Shein or a Walmart. Even though Walmart doesn't want you to use an MCF, I still think you can. This is a perfect time to go and explore those channels to see like, hey, what happens if I do put my products here? And
it's a great way for the trial, exactly to your point, because right now, like if you don't have to implement all of this giant infrastructure change and it goes well, then you're like, well, beyond MCF, if I do it myself and send it to a 3PL and put this in place, I can save an additional 10% or whatever that percentage is and add that to my bottom line. And you've tested it, the product took off, it's working. I'd love to hear more around your thoughts around like, will that continue to work, right? Like we had this giant TikTok workshop, and one of my concerns was it goes viral. How long does that last, right? I sell 1,000 units. I sell out of my inventory on Amazon. That's a big problem, right? Because like the lifeblood of ranking and SEO on Amazon is being in stock. And if you're out of stock for too long, so am I putting my Amazon business at risk is another concern. So there's all these things that I need to try to consider when I'm deciding whether to pull those levers, but you can kind of work through those, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, so first of all, I think one of the most important things is like, if you're going to experiment with one of these channels, I do think you have to go all in on them. Now, I don't think that means all 800 SKUs, or for us, all 1,600 SKUs. Quite the opposite. I think it is you take your best sellers, take your top 5 to 10 listings, take them to that marketplace. But like, that doesn't mean you just throw up some random piece of crap image and listing on those marketplaces. No, it means like, if you're going to go into TikTok Shop, like learn, how do the titles work in TikTok Shop? How do the descriptions work in TikTok Shop? How is revenue generated in TikTok Shop? Okay, it's through affiliates. So how do I double down on my affiliates and my work through affiliates? Like, you've got to give it a like A+ try in that channel, but you've got to do it on a limited test run, right? So I think that's the things that we've made mistakes in, is like when we try to say, oh, we're all in on this thing, right? We're all in every product. We're doing this, this, and this. And then we take a step back 6 to 12 months and it's like, ooh, we already knew within the first couple months this wasn't going well, but like we made it our annual goal. So we just kept going forward on it. And so I think you got to have a contained test. You've got to launch in those channels. You've got to experiment, but you've got to be able to look back a couple months later and be like, no, we gave this our all. We even hired experts and consultants to come in. They said we were going in the right direction. But if that ultimately comes up and like it's not meeting your revenue expectations or profit expectations, like it may be time to be like, great, I can now cross this off the list of things we need to try, because every brand's going to be different. And you could say like, yeah, Walmart, it didn't work for us. And you can confidently know, or even TikTok Shop, right? Everybody's talking about TikTok Shop, but can you confidently go in and say like, ah, I've tried it. Like, good for you. Glad that's working for your brand. I actually gave it my all and it didn't pan out the way that we wanted to. Now, then you could get even deeper. And it's like, well, you got to struggle through it to actually like till you see the fruits of success that way. But Brandon, I loved your point, which was this, is like, how can you just like how can you, without reworking your entire supply chain, do the easiest, like touch the easiest growth levers, say, hey, let's try to expand here, knowing that, all right, right now it might not be the most profitable, but if it starts to take off, I know what I would need to do to re-engineer my supply chain or whatever process to actually get this thing running. So, Brandon, I would be curious though now, like we talked about all these different marketplaces, like what's on the horizon for your guys' own brand? Like, do you believe that like just on Amazon, you guys can become a 9-figure brand with Amazon alone? Or do you feel like, no, part of this is like, we do have to take the bet and the swing into the retail space or into the D2C space? Like, tell me your visions and the levers that you see coming down the pipeline for your own brand.
Yeah, 100%. We need to be more than just an Amazon brand to get to 100 million. And our goal is to go that way. So we are looking retail. I think that we're looking at IP. So for us, I think that the more unique your product, you need to have either some type of patent protection. You need to have the ability to maybe do some licensing. So dealing with major brands and attaching them to your product is huge for growth and for creating a moat. I like the idea of creating a moat with a series of patents or copyrights as well. So one of the examples that you can give is that if you've got a sports product, for example, like one that we've developed, it can only be in so many shapes, right? And so if you control 2 or 3 of those shapes and there's only one kind of remaining, so like a circular one is remaining, that's the most common on the market. But let's say you create one with rounded corners, you create one in a triangle, you create one in another like size, and then you protect those other shapes. Now you've got the opportunity where you're the only one that can have a unique version of that product, and then everybody else is just stuck in the circles. And then, and then if that functionality improves because of those new shapes, now you've got a real moat. You've got something that you can really go lean into. And that's just one like simple example, but across all products, you can kind of think of maybe something you can do along those lines, but you need to do it in a way that you're trying to corner the market and do something unique. And because otherwise design patents are easy to get around, right? So if they're you kind of want to make sure that you're filing multiple design patents. I've got another one that I'm doing that is a toy product, and I'm doing it in the shape of a butterfly, for example. And what I've done is I know that this is going to be successful, and I know I'm going to get copycats, right? It tested off the charts, right? So what I've done is I've had my design team create 8 different styles of butterflies, knowing I'm only going to launch 1 or 2 to start, but I've protected all 8. Now, in order to create another type of butterfly style of this toy, it's going to be very difficult for someone to come into the market where they're not infringing on at least one of those other designs that I've protected. So I'm creating this huge barrier to entry or moat, and like their style of butterfly is going to have to look so weird that it doesn't even really look like a butterfly anymore in order to come into the market. So that's another example of like trying to protect with IP moats. But licensing's massive, right? Like you come in and like you can have a Minecraft toy, and all of a sudden, if it's officially Minecraft, you're able to charge more. You're able to, your margins go up, even though you're paying that royalty on the back end. Your margins are significantly better. Your conversion rates go up, and you're able to potentially look at getting into retail. So, we're looking at taking some of our existing products and our track record and our supply chain and our branding and be able to go to some of these larger, IPs and say, hey, like we'd love to do this toy with this attached to it. And I think that that's going to be a big lever for us. And that allows us to then go Walmarts and Targets and .coms and physical stores. And that's how we're going to get past 100 million, right? From the 20 we're at. It's not going to be with just launching another 800 products on Amazon, I don't think. On Amazon.com, I don't think.
Yeah. I love that. Great insights. And I completely agree with all of those strategies. I think, especially on the licensing aspect of it, I mean, we saw this in one of the brands in the think tank over this past weekend. They have a college license, right, for one of their products. Guess how much they spend on advertising? They said $0, 0 tacos, right? How many of us would want that? But it's because he's like, I compete with one other brand. Like, that's it. There's only 2 people on all of Amazon that have this license. Like, imagine what that does to your business. So, I mean, Brandon, what are your predictions in the next 5 to 10 years on Amazon? Who are the brands that survive and are thriving 5 to 10 years from now versus the brands that are just like continuing to struggle? What's the difference?
Yeah, the difference are the people who learn. So before, the biggest advantage that we would teach that helped so many people become successful was on the SEO side, right? So it was like, how do you look at competitors who are not doing a good job with ranking and then just rank something better? And it didn't really matter as much on the product design side, and many people were successful doing that. But now you need to be a complete seller in brand, in the sense that your capabilities need to be from an SEO perspective. You need to know what you're doing, keyword research, product analysis. Your product development strategy needs to take into account who the demographic is, what they truly want. You need to test. So we're talking to the audience that doesn't know that what you know because of our history. But the strategies that we teach now are you go and do the research to validate a product and look at the risk of that product. But a large percentage of the time, if not all of the time, you do not move forward with ordering a product until you have validated your design beats the current sellers. Meaning you are investing a significant amount of money up front in product development that you didn't normally have to invest. But that is making sure that you are reducing the risk of that product launch. So I will go and I will test 5 or 10 or more designs on a product against the competition with either a PickFu, a Product Pinion, an IntelliV, and make sure that I am winning those polls against the current bestsellers before I even place my order. And so then the next step is becoming really, really good at supply chain, becoming really, really good at marketing and ads. And so you can't have any holes or kinks in your armor anymore as a brand owner. Whereas before you could just be really, really good at one or two things, you have to be good at all of it. And so you need that complete course. You need that complete, those complete systems. Whereas, it wasn't the case in the past. You could kind of get by with being great at one or two things. You have to be good at everything now.
Yeah, I think that's a very true statement. So, Brandon, as we begin to wrap things up here, you touched on like one of your strategies to scale to 100 million is going to be retail. Yet you also talked about, hey, we did fair, we did the kind of retail or wholesale. Now I know there's a difference between like going into Target versus going into shopping mall kiosks and things like that. But tell me the different mindset or your approach to retail. How's that going to be any different than fair, and what's your strategy that way?
Yeah, the products that we bring to retail are going to be very hot IP dependent. So it's going to be something that is unique to the market that is just crushing competition based on whatever that IP mode is, whether it's going to be the attaching, Dora the Explorer or, Bluey to it or something, right? Or it's going to be something that we have a patent around that no one else can do, that it just has a lot of demand. So the story that we're telling Target is give us shelf space. You have limited shelf space. Give us shelf space. It will move because of this and because we're already marketing over here. So people will be looking for it, right? That's going to be the only way that I really want to deal with retail. It's not going to be to try to take something that I've done slightly better and bring it into Target, right? So it will be a much different story. And those are just much larger orders, right? That'll be a $5, $10, $15 million lever that we pull as, in towards the end of 2025. I mean, as we come in and we start getting orders for 2026, I think in 2026, if we do 10 million in retail, that's kind of our target. I don't see us, making up the majority of that 100 million that way, but the online is still king, right? So whether TikTok starts to become a large percentage of that and we can do 10 or more million on TikTok and then additional marketplaces. We're looking at Japan. We're looking at EU. We're looking at expanding our current catalog and then launching a lot more products. So we have another line that we're launching as well, another brand, which is a sports brand. And we're looking at higher dollar amount products. So we're looking at things that people don't want to deal with. So average price point $150 to $400 and much larger oversized products. People don't like, copycats don't have the budget. They don't want to take the risk, and they won't have the supply chain that we are going to invest in to create that will give us those advantages on seller fulfilled prime and saving in on fulfillment.
Yeah, I love that. I think business is just a game of continuously being able to level up, right? As you talked about there, right? You got to level up from where you're at. And I think the question that brand owners need to ask themselves are you better than you were last year? Not just profitability wise or revenue wise or how many products. It's you as a person and as a business owner. Have you leveled up your game and your strategies? Because if you want to take your business to the next level and you do want to stay relevant, you've got to approach business differently. And Brandon, I love that. Like, yeah, you got started in, let's call them like some lower cost product categories to begin with. All right. The moat, or, to get into those product categories, or the hurdles, are lower, right? They're lower COGS. And so it's easy for me to do a bunch of different test orders and things like that. But then when you start working on the higher dollar value stuff, right? And you're dealing with the oversized fees and shipping and all of that, like, yeah, very few Chinese knockoffs are going to be trying to compete in that space, because it's a beast and it takes a lot of capital to do it. So that's what I refer to as like level yourself up. So take that capital that you make and don't go buy yourself a big house, right? I think the person that's able to like delay gratification the longest ends up with the biggest business at the end of the day.
Yeah,
so,
we got to tell Jennifer that, because we haven't bought a house yet. Hey, we're getting a little tired. I think what we decided to finally do, though, is we should have done this a few years ago. The rents in Miami are absolutely absurd. So we've been renting a townhouse for the last 7 years, and it's like 3-4 years ago we should have moved into like one of these luxury condos with all the amenities. So we're sitting here and we're thinking to ourselves like, hey, it'd be nice to have a pool. It'd be nice to have a gym, a sauna. It'd be nice to have all these things. What's an extra $1,400 a month for us, right? Like, we don't want to go buy a house. I think the market's about to crash. But we thought that in 2000 also. So, but yeah, we've put off gratification a long time. So that's funny. And I think that to your point, though, I mean, this wouldn't be a complete podcast without mentioning AI too, right? So we've been using AI for product design for quite a while. It is a massive lever that you need to pull, but in every aspect. So product development, images, content. How do you leverage AI to become smarter, better, more efficient in your business? And then with ads tools too, right? Like, there's a couple on the market that are okay, that are leveraging AI to doing some management and AI and management, but we're trying to build that into Data Dive, right? Like, so how do we build tools that are a combination? And the way I relate it is this, and I know it's a little off topic, but the way I relate it is this. I've been learning chess. Like, I've just been, as a way to like separate, I've been really trying to get good at chess. And there's the smartest engine right now for chess is not fully AI, because the AI was like the big thing for the last 20 years on like, how can an AI beat, the greatest player in the world? The best one on the market right now is called Stockfish. And Stockfish is a combination of rules and AI. And I feel like that's the way that ads management needs to be as well, where there's an algorithm that runs, and then at some point it needs to check with AI to get an answer on something. And once it gets that answer from AI, it knows what algorithm to run next. And so that's kind of what we're building but everything needs to have AI. It's going to make your team more efficient. It's going to make your products better. It's going to make your designs better. It's going to improve your conversion rates. So this wouldn't be a complete podcast without saying, what levers are we pulling? It's getting really good at AI.
Love it. Love it, Brandon. Well, we're going to have to do a part 2 later on, but this has been super enlightening. Brandon, as we wrap things up, I'd love to leave the audience with 3 actionable takeaways from every episode. Here are the 3 actionable takeaways that I noted. You let me know if I'm missing something. Number 1, as you as a brand owner, no matter what level of business you are at right now, your most important thing to do is to manage by leading indicators. And so what you need to focus on is, what are the leading indicators that will lead to future profits and revenue in the business?
Let's rephrase that real quick, Josh, as leading actions.
Even better.
Yeah, because that way it's in the term that you're actually doing something that you need to be doing and measuring every single day that will result in that lagging metric.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And Brandon, one of the things I have right in front of my desk every single day is, what am I doing every day to touch my 3 biggest priorities in the business? What am I doing as leading actions? I love that. Leading actions that I know if I just keep doing this every single day, these will lead to positive profit or revenue in the future. So that's action item number 1. Action item number 2 is you've got to differentiate yourself in the market and your products. And Brandon gave us some great ideas, whether that be licensing, going to the licensing expo in Las Vegas and actually creating a licensing deal, right, for your products. Or is it creating IP, whether it be design patents or utility patents for your product that expand that moat around your products that allow you to have a longer kind of, growth cycle or product life cycle on Amazon to be able to hedge against yourself. So differentiation, and you talked about utilizing AI as well and being proactive there. I think that's been something that a lot of people have neglected up until now, and I think that's only going to become more important over the next 5 to 10 years. And I would also say that is our biggest competitive advantage. Us as US-based sellers, we have the best competitive advantage compared to our overseas competitors because we know what's trending in the market. We know what the end customer wants. We know how to speak to them. So can we out-innovate the competition? That's how you win. My final action item is hiring really good talent. And as you mentioned, Brandon, in order to be able to scale, if you just hire $2, $3, $4 an hour VAs, because you're like, they're just super cheap, this is great. Guess what happens? You will eventually hit 5, 7 million, where that team, now some of those guys need to be able to level up into leadership roles, but they don't have the skill sets to be able to do so. And guess what you have to do? You basically have to pull it all back down to the studs and rebuild that house and that foundation all over again. And so one of my biggest hacks is like, if you focus and you're willing to invest in really good talent up front, so much so that you say, all right, yeah, I'm hiring you for this VA role, but I know you've got a lot more potential in you. Those are the type of candidates that you want to bring into your team. Brandon, anything you think I missed here?
No, man, I think that you're an expert at the hiring and training, and the advantage that you have with manufacturing in the US. I think that that's a huge thing for people to understand around how long is your capital tied up? How do you manage your supply chain? If you've got suppliers in the US, diversifying into the US when possible is good. Looking for products that are done here can be really good. But hiring and training the right people and getting them leveled up is the biggest bottleneck that I see most large brands and even agencies run into. So even the agencies are great when it's employees 1 through 5. And when you're like one of the first brands into an agency, it's usually the head of the agency that's really good, the face of the agency. They deliver great work. They know what they're doing. But then it's like employee 15 and brand number 25 really struggle, right? Because they need the right processes and systems to teach them how to properly do that thing that they're doing. I think that, the same reason that we hit walls at 5 million and at 20 million is the same reason that you hit walls with an agency as well. So it's people, it's talent, it's processes, it's training. And if you're not good at it yourself to begin with, even if you hate doing it, you're not going to be able to hire and train the right people to do it. So you've got to find the right experts and learn from them and bring in the right coaches. And then that's the way that you're going to be able to grow this brand to the next level. So,
yeah, I mean, well said there. That's why I think as business owners, you need to make the conscious decision. And I hope that through this conversation, you've been able to see what it takes in order to scale to that next level requires management. It requires operationalizing things and creating systems and processes in your business. If that's not you and you're like, I don't like that, I don't want to hire and manage staff, that's fine. But you've got to go find some avenues to where you can make as much money as you can with yourself, right? And know that and be happy with that constraint. But I think in these physical products brands, name one 9-figure company that's done with one founder and a VA. I haven't heard of that yet. Maybe AI will change that in the coming 5 years. But
maybe AI will do it by itself.
Maybe AI has its own brand, right? So, Brandon, here are the 3 final questions I ask each guest. Number 1, right. What's been the most influential book that you've read and why?
Oh, man, I think it'd be a combination of all the different business management books that I've read. So whether it's four disciplines of execution, measure what matters, scaling up. I think that at the end of the day, and traction's on that list as well, all of these systems call it something different, but it's all exactly what we were talking about today. And the combination of those things, which is you figure out what lever to pull, you set a goal, and then you work backwards from that goal. So it's learning how to work backwards into and boil down what your goal is, what are the drivers and causes to that that for that goal, and then what are the leading activities required to move the needle towards achieving that goal. And so whether it's one of those systems that you follow, whether it's OKRs or EOS or whatever it is, you're going to have to learn how to run and operate your business using those same methodologies. And so I think it's the combination of all those. And it was interesting, by the second and third book, I'm like, oh, it's all the same shit. It's just telling it a different way. And it's just calling it something different. And all of them are trying to sell you a coaching program, I think. So like, at the end of the day, they just want to kind of make it their own so they can sell you their coaches. But, I was like, maybe they're onto something. If all of these giant companies have been formed and grown and scaled using these systems, there's something there. And it's been a big unlock for us to be able to run and operate the 3 businesses that we have and to scale them the way we have.
Yeah, I love that. I think you said that perfectly well. There's lots of different books there, but it's all about creating that management, the operating system in the business. Brandon, question number 2, what's your favorite AI tool or ChatGPT prompt that you've been using?
I think that the ChatGPT prompt that is most underutilized is to tell it to go learn about a few things before you actually ask it for an answer.
Tell me more.
So whenever I want to learn something, or I want it to tell me about something or give me some advice on something, I ask it to go learn about it or several things first. And it goes and does research and gives me a report on that thing that it learned. And then it's better equipped to answer that question. So it's basically, training the model first before you really rely on the answer, because the answer is only going to be, you don't know what knowledge base it has, but you want it to actually have that answer before you, have that knowledge before it answers. So yeah, I think it's just more around a general idea of how to talk to it. And then I love Midjourney. I love designing with Midjourney. I love getting ideas from Midjourney around concepts and ideas and characters and toys and things that I want to do. So I love Midjourney.
Love it. And I love that you're telling it to go learn. It is as simple. It's like if you just treat it to garbage in, garbage out, that's all you're going to get. So do the extra step there with ChatGPT. All right, Brandon, final question. Who is somebody that you admire or respect the most in the e-commerce space that other people should be following, and why?
Oh, they should be following you, man. So I think that there are a few guys out there that really know their stuff. I mean, and it all depends on which level of expertise or what you want them to do. I love how Kevin King is always trying to find new things and avenues and things that he's doing. Hormozi's great for just business management practices and really just like a no bullshit way of telling you how to like focus on the things you need to focus on, but it's not necessarily e-commerce. Yeah, I mean, from e-commerce perspective, guys that are out there putting out content, Ritu's got a great AI newsletter that's fantastic. If you're not in that one, Kevin King's newsletter is fantastic. Follow also Destiny Wilshon from Better Media. Her posts on LinkedIn are fantastic. Yeah. So many great people in our space that really add value, that know what they're doing. That we know and love and respect.
Echo all of those sentiments. And we've had Ritu, Kevin, and Destiny on the show. So go back and pull up those episodes because they definitely know what they're talking about.
Best. Yeah, absolutely.
Brandon, this has been a lot of fun. If people want to learn more about you, they want to learn more about Data Dive, seller systems, how can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, Data Dive, you can get a free 15 days, I think, using it, and maybe even get a free coaching session. If you guys are already doing 6 or 7 figures, I'll give you a full month of it to bring over and to give it a try. I think our Our keyword tracker is the best on the market. I think by the time this episode airs, we will have search query performance data integrated at the keyword level in your keyword tracker, which no one else does. We're also the first to bring in impression share as well. So I think that, try Data Dive. It's, I always tell people it's the better, newer version of Helium 10. So if you're using Helium 10, you don't need to anymore. Come over to Data Dive. Also, if you want to learn about seller systems, like we have a new program starting where we're going to be training your ads person. So it's a PPC manager training for the first time, 12-week program, certificate program. Put your people into it. They will get, you as an employer will get a initial assessment, midterm progress reports, and a final exam. You will know all the strengths and weaknesses as we try to level up your PPC people. That starts in April. We have very limited seats there. And then we've got Camp Ecom. Bring your team to Camp Ecom. Learn from one of the 2 tracks. Hopefully Josh is speaking at it again. He's an alum of it. And, campecom.com. We will be at an all-inclusive resort in Cancun, where you have 2 tracks. You've got your pre-launch and post-launch, 2 full days of working in your business. So this isn't a typical workshop or a conference where people are just talking at you from stage. It is you actually working in your business while someone's teaching you from stage to fill out an SOP, go do something in your business, level up, bring your team to it, and level them up while you're at it. And then we have an executive day. So instead of doing 3 tracks, because the feedback we got from the executives is they wanted to do the tactical at the same time. So we actually have the first day as the executive day. You have to be doing at least 7 figures. And that's going to be the first day of learning how to hire, train, work backwards, scale your business, all the things we talked about today that Josh always talks about. Spend time around other amazing, successful entrepreneurs for a few days in paradise at Camp Ecom.
Love it. Brandon, so much value shared today. Thanks so much for your time today.
Appreciate you, man. Looking forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you for listening. Visit ecombreakthrough.com for more information. If you've enjoyed today's episode, the best way you can show your appreciation is by clicking the subscribe button and quickly leaving a review. See you again next time.